Hey friends and family, this is Marilyn from tarotclarity.com, and today, for today's readings, I thought I would use the Alejandro R Rozan, the Rider-Marseille Tarot Deck. I haven't used it much. I've used it privately, personally, and I've used it on, for clients, but I haven't used it much on camera, except to showcase it. And I really ought to show it more often. I guess I was called to use it. I don't know. I don't know. Hear me out here, because we have two camps with the deck, right? It's a blend of the Rider-Waite-Smith and the Marseille. Now, I don't see them as enemy camps. There are some people of both camps, and the Thoth camp and the Udis Picard camp and any other camp, right, who may feel like their system is it, that's the only one. But I think for the most part, I think so. I mean, the tarot readers that I've met through my channel have been, despite whatever card style or system they prefer, they've been very, congenial with me. I mean, Simon is wonderful. Hi, Simon. Who's recently come on my radar, of knowing Simon a little bit. And so many of my viewers are tarot readers themselves. I don't make it my business to. I've always kind of just stayed in my lane. First of all, I didn't think anybody would be interested in what I had to say. So I kind of stay in my lane. And because I had learned early on that there is a lot of ego. There's ego in some tarot circles. And so I try to avoid it. So by doing that, I never really peruse other tarot channels, right? But I've noticed that some of them have extended their kindness towards me. Masha has included me in things, and 78 Puertas Cesar. So there are a few that I've been aware of, and I interact with. So I can't say that the reason, and we tend to embrace both styles of decks, right? We all seem to, have no problem between Rider-Waite-Smith or any other style of tarot deck. So maybe it's not a fair thing to say, well, I'm using this deck because it shows a conflict of styles. Because what's happening in the United States is way beyond that. It's pretty clear that unless the Democratic Party grows a pair and stops trying to meet them in the middle, because there is no meeting in the middle, they're going to take over. It's clear in their rhetoric, what they say is that their goal is to make being a left, or being, in other words, a Democrat, illegal. So if you're an American and you're against what's happening in this country, you have got to take responsibility and do whatever it takes to vote. Make plans. If there's a problem for, if you know of an older citizen or somebody who doesn't have a vehicle, no matter how old they are, ask them if they need help to get to a voting poll. Because we got to do what it takes. I think the 2026 election might be the last chance that we have for democracy, and we still have it. We still have it. The chance. But above and beyond that, if we don't do what it takes, and it's not just the Democratic leadership, it's us too. And if you say, I've been a Republican all my life, I just can't in my heart vote for a Democrat. Well, you're just going to get it shoved right up your backside. Okay? So at any rate, but I'm using this deck just to show different sides that can get along, but I think we're past being able to get along. There's no getting along. It's past that. There's no let's meet in the middle kind of stuff. I don't think so. We have to take a stand. We're not, it can't be illegal to be us. Okay, so let me go off camera, come up with a question. I'll be right back. Okay, so this question, let me make sure I have it up right. Aren't the backs of this deck beautiful? I love the backs. It's reminiscent, of course, of the 1909 Lily backs. Okay, this is the upright. So let me do one, because I took a peek, I guess. I don't even remember what it was, and then let's just do a bunch of these. So I'm concerned that we turn it around. And I would like to see how the 2026 elections will go. Will enough of us step forward and get them out? Get them out. I mean, it's gotten to the point where if you're just quoting CK, if you're just using exact quotations from him, you get fired from your work. Because he said some things that they don't like. You know, they know, not that they don't like, they love the things he said. They just don't like being called out on the things he said because they know it's not Christian. So if you're just quoting him, you get fired. So it's extremely important. You know, I know some people are apolitical and they don't like to watch the news and they just want to stay out of it. Man, you got to get your head out of the ground, man. You got to do what you got to do. Because we got to make a difference, because this is our last chance. The Fool. Okay, reckless behavior. He's exiting the picture. Let's see. Oh, gosh. So there's like a recklessness. There's a boredom. Oh, my God. We have to get it together. Well, you know, what do these two things bring? The death of what? Democracy. I'm curious to know what the quid card would be. I'm going to figure it out ahead of time. Let's see. So we have 4 at 17. It's the star. 4 and 13, right? That's what we got there. Well, that's interesting. All right. The end of democracy and the end of hope. Oh, let's see. What's the next one? Queen of Swords. Front and center of the core 9. The 3 of Swords, heartache. Are we not going to get it together? Now remember, this, you know, I don't understand the card, I don't understand this as, what's it called? Like predicting the future. I see this as things, I do my interpretations with the cards as things to consider and things to look out for. And certainly the message, tell me if I'm wrong, seems to be reckless and bored behavior brings the end of, we had the star card, hope, brings the end of hope. That's the card that was there. We have perhaps women will really be the ticket because maybe men don't think like they have it as bad, right? But women, I think maybe we have to step up. If we've been seeing female cards for months and months and months and months, and we can make a difference. But then we have heartache. Who stands to have the most heartache? We have women, we have heartache. What falls under death and next to heartache? The Moon. Well, this is a card that could represent femininity, right? So this could represent things of femininity. Things of womanhood. Boy, oh boy. It can also suggest, secrets, underhanded things. Now, it's not the magician card, but it's a card that thwarts individuals, right? When I went down my rabbit hole, and I never saw this in any tarot book or anything like that. If somebody's said it since, they probably saw it on my channel. But when I went down a rabbit hole saying, tell me about crustaceans, The crustacean comes up to feed, right? It comes up to feed at night. We have 2 predators who are thwarting its ability to come up to feed. So we have an entire party, if we consider this like a feminine suit or a feminine card, or certainly in the context of the question, and I mentioned it has feminine, considerations here. Thwarting feminine what? Thwarting feminine advancement, right? So I started seeing the moon as a card of individuals who try to thwart somebody from progressing. It can also be things that happen underhandedly or out of the picture or out of the realm of daylight. But in the context of this question, it's just perfect. It perfectly describes that women will probably have the most to lose. So women, we have to make a big difference. We have, find out what it takes, and if you don't know, contact me, tarotclarity@gmail.com. I will find out the information for your state to get you to, what you need to do. Seriously. Okay, fortitude. We have to, we have to be a force. We have to be a force to be reckoned with. We have to show up in numbers. We have a formidable thing to overcome, right? There's a pair. They're from the same suit. One addresses this and one is below it. One is the root of it, right? This is the root of that. You can see the lower row, and many times I do, as the root of what's above it. The root cause. In many cases it is. And then looking forward, right? This clearly is from the Rider-Waite-Smith. The one thing I've noticed is that the deck, although it may have, the feeling of being, an engraving or whatever, the art really is, and the message on the cards really seems to be more in keeping with Rider-Waite-Smith than it would be with Marseille. It's not a criticism, it's just an observation. But here we have putting it out there and now looking to see, well, I don't know if this is like putting it out there. This more is like uncertainty, but wanting to go forward. He's got a waterway to overcome. Is it advancement or is it looking to see what comes our way? Let me get a Rider-Waite-Smith deck. Alrighty, now I just pulled in just a generic Rider-Waite-Smith deck. It's certainly not the best example of the Rider-Waite-Smith that I have. It's just a convenient deck to pull from my shelf. Now, as I was remembering the 3 of batons, I wasn't remembering water. I was remembering water more as appearing in the 2 of batons of Rider-Waite-Smith. And it seems like I'm correct here. So we have like a conflict. I don't know. It seems like we have a combination of the 2 and the 1, 2 and the 3 in this card. Now, this to me doesn't look like water. To me, this looks like mountain. So he's about to begin a journey. He's setting out. Here, he's put something out into the world and he's maybe waiting for it to come back. Here, it's like a combination or it's ambiguous. It's like, did he put something out and he's waiting for it to come back, or is he looking to leave the area? So it's kind of ambiguous here. By the way, I must say, isn't this lovely, this arrangement? I really should use this deck more often. It has a nice look to it when you put them in my signature spread. Okay, now, as I mentioned, that this would be the star card, and I'll do the quints for the rest of these rows. I really want to see, remember the question being, can we turn it around? We can. But the things that we have to take care of, or the things that we have to look out for, is not to be bored, not to be reckless, not to assume somebody else will do it for us. Women particularly perhaps have to step up. We have the most to lose, right? We have the predatory thing that we kind of see happening. and we have to like be strong. We have to stand up to this because our future depends on it. I typically try to read with the quint cards before I get into the core 9, but I'm trying to teach you guys too how to use my spread. So as I put cards down, I tend to tell you what I see, but I wouldn't necessarily do that when I was doing a reading for somebody. I would just kind of do it most often. Let me get the quint cards, and I'll be right back. Before I talk more about the spread, I just want to indicate that if you like this deck, I'm not sure if they're still carrying it or not. There may be other, places where you can get this deck, but I know that this deck came from Artisan Tarot, and you should really, I haven't mentioned them as often as I should, but they carry not only their own decks, but they've been publishing decks by creators, and they have a lot of stuff on their website. So you should check them out. They're good. They're good people. Okay, so we have the top card is I described reckless and bored behavior brings the end of what? The end of hope. Okay, so that one we clearly figured it out. The feminine, the women power, we have the most to lose, and we have the most to gain, right? We have the most to lose and we have the most to gain. Here we have a formidable foe. We have to, now she's got her back to this. So it's almost as though she's not, facing her foe. Do we see it like a foe? But she's got her back to him, which is curious. And then we put something out into the world and we'll see what comes to us. What comes to us is justice. It's interesting because if they followed the Marseille tradition, then this would be here and this would be here. So justice would be fighting the man, right? Putting it out there. Like if we vote, if we see this as voting, right? If we see this as voting to, I see this as fighting the autocrats, right? The oligarchy. So if we use our vote to do that and wait to see what happens, we'll see how strong we are. But that's not the way it is in this deck. However, I think it's legitimate to transfer both of those to just see how they play out because they're both equally correct. To use our strength to fight this power, see what happens, and hopefully the result is justice for us. Actually, I think this is the better inclusion or the better arrangement of the cards, except that I'm curious about why her back is to him. But she's got to depend on herself, so it's independent. It's independent of him. And then the final outcome, I'm sad to say, is the orthodoxy card. Because what we have to lose, this is like we have everything to gain. But the orthodoxy card is there to remind us that we have everything to lose too, because this orthodox, this evangelistic religious order wants to keep us in our place. And our place, I have nothing against, okay, we can look at this, you could say, well, maybe it's about the Pope. I have nothing against Pope Leo. He seems like a decent guy. But let's face it, the church hasn't really been all that in favor of girls. You know what I'm saying? Or women, or women's rights. I don't see it as the papacy so much as I see it as in the context of the question of getting our vote out there and making a difference. We have everything to lose. We have everything to gain, but we have everything to lose if we don't make an effort. I also, if you've been here for 19 minutes, I also want to say, please start looking at the descriptive areas. It's, I have a couple pretty decent videos for some of you who may be looking, at the descriptive areas. And maybe I mention it at the end of a video, because if you've been here with me for 20 minutes, you deserve it. You deserve to hear that there's a bonus video. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the reading from this deck. I sure as heck did. I think I'm going to use it for another reading or two on video because it's really, I enjoyed using it very much. Until next time, friends, peace, stay well, be brave, be kind, and vote. And do what it takes to be a responsible citizen of this country to help bring back democracy. We are this close, seriously, to losing it. Seriously, that close. You have a chance, but not much. We all got to do what it takes. Until next time, friends, peace, stay well, be brave, and be kind. Please be kind. That's the problem. Nobody's kind enough.